is great to see you all out here tonight on such a cold night, and I really wanted this to be a conversation. I think we're going to have time for questions after I'm through here. I want to, you know, my opponent, Dave Joyce, was Jaw County prosecutor for a couple of dozen years, and I've known Dave a long, long time, and saw him at many, many events over the past couple of years. And he likes to joke about how the Democrats send spies out after him, you know, to record what he says and try to catch him at something and so forth. Well, he must have learned that someplace, because here in the back of the room we have Steve LaTourrette's son-in-law filming tonight. Everybody wave to Scott back there. See him with the camera?
I'm not here for Dave, though.
Yeah, trust me. Dave will see that too. Anyway, so I'm glad you're all here tonight, and I really appreciate Chuck's words and all of you, because really this is a fight for liberty. That's what my candidacy is all about. Frankly, that's what my entire political career has been all about. It's been about liberty and Northeast Ohio, what Northeast Ohio can do, because Northeast Ohio has done a lot for me. I grew up here. I've never called any place else home. My parents moved here. My sister Peg is here. See, I was about 5 when we moved here. You must have been about 8. So Northeast Ohio, I remember it so well. I remember walking to Euclid Beach from Cleveland Heights, believe it or not, when I was like in 8th grade. That was back in the days when it was okay for 8th graders to actually walk alone. We had a gang of us, of course, but without fear. I remember taking the Rapid into downtown Cleveland to go to ball games. Would we let our kids do that today? I doubt it. But it was a great place to grow up. My mom and dad were great people. They had 9 children. 9 children. People think that I learned to debate in law school. I actually learned to debate at our dining room table. And Peg will attest to this. I used to say that we didn't have dinner plates, we had lecterns. Because it was always a debate. Mom and dad were on each end of the table, and the 9 kids on either side arguing about whatever the issue of the day might be. And our parents were great people. They were patriotic people. My dad worked for the Navy Department during World War II in the Washington, D.C. area. And my mom actually was a singer. She was a very artistic person, but among other things, she had her own radio show, believe it or not, in the early 50s in Washington, D.C. She sang with a big band. We have some scratchy old records from those days. And she was very great fan of music, and one of the songs that she used to sing that I didn't pay much attention to at the time was an old Frank Sinatra song called "What Does America Mean to Me?" Some of you remember that? Any of you remember that? You should Google it. It's kind of interesting. We would think it's old-fashioned today. But that question, what does America mean to me, is a question that's really haunted me in recent years. Because America, as our president said, has been fundamentally transformed. And it worries me. It worries me that the America that I grew up with, the America that perhaps you grew up with, isn't the America that we're going to leave to our children and grandchildren. My mother lived to be 90 years old. I don't know that she ever even said the word America without a feeling of patriotism in her heart. And so we had a great time growing up. But I'm not sure that could be done today. When I look back, and my dad was an attorney. He worked for himself in a small office. 9 children, that's a lot of responsibility. We all got through college, we all had careers, and they managed to save a little money for their retirement. But that's a pretty tough thing to do today. Because today, we live in a society where the cost of raising a family has gone through the roof, where the cost of education has gone through the roof, where taxation and regulation makes it tougher and tougher to start a business, where in fact employers have a hard time hiring their next new employee. It's getting harder every day, and it's not because we aren't working hard. It's not because you're not working hard. It's because Washington has lost touch with the American people. And with a national debt now approaching $20 million, many, if not most, of our representatives in Washington, they've actually lost touch with reality. If they think that this isn't going to cause problems for us big time. And if we continue to send the same kind of people to Washington to do the same kind of job, we're going to get the same kind of result. And we're going to lose the America that I remember and we grew up with. And we just can't afford that. And we shouldn't pass it on to our grandchildren. Now some people say, well, gee, if we could only get the Republicans in office. I wish it was that simple. I wish every Republican was in fact a patriotic conservative. But we know better. Yes, you can applaud that. I wish it was true. But the reality is many Republicans have lost touch with the people as well. And here in the 14th District in Ohio, Dave Joyce, it didn't take long for him to lose touch. In his first term, he was one of the 87 Republican members of Congress who voted last October to raise the debt limit. Last year at a Tea Party meeting, he told us that the Affordable Care Act, well, it just couldn't be defunded. And he must have believed it because he wouldn't co-sponsor the Defund Obamacare Act, which would have done just that. He won't even take the no tax pledge from Americans for Tax Reform. A pledge that I took 2 years ago when I went to the legislature in Columbus, a tax pledge that I've taken again, that I will not raise your taxes under any circumstances, because the problem, folks, is not that there's too little taxes, the problem is there's too much spending. But with Republicans like Dave Joyce, we don't have to worry too much about the Democrats. And I'm not the only one to notice this. Two of the largest conservative organizations, national conservative organizations, have rated Dave Joyce below 50%. The Heritage Foundation gives him a 46% conservative rating, and the Freedom Works gives him an embarrassing 43%. That's 43% out of 100. Every school I went to, that's a failing grade. And if you fail at representing the folks in Congress, in representing those conservative values, this isn't grade school, folks. You don't get to repeat the term and take it over. It's time we send Dave Joyce home and send Matt Lynch to Washington. We need to return to the values that built this country and made this country great, and that's why I'm running for Congress. You know, the first time I ran for office, this is advice for you guys, always do what your wife tells you. The first time I ran for office, because my wife told me to. She might regret that now. But, you know, I was home watching TV and yelling at Bill O'Reilly, and I've been, as Peg knows, in our family, politics is a you know, comes with the salad and the dinner every night. And she said, get off the couch. Stop complaining about it. Do something about it. You know, but I'm like you. You know, who am I? One guy. What am I going to do? So I ran for Bainbridge Township trustee. Got elected. Got elected because I had a slogan that said, lower taxes, less spending. Well, gee, people like that, lower taxes, less spending. And that's what I worked on. I was elected chairman of the Bainbridge Township Board immediately. 4 years later, we had reduced spending by 17% in Bainbridge Township. We did lower taxes and reduce spending. We did it in Bainbridge Township. I wanted to do it in Columbus as well. When the budget proposal came up last year, and it included an increase in your sales taxes, an increase in your real estate taxes, I couldn't go along. I couldn't go along. I'm about reducing the size of government and reducing your taxes. And we need to return to those values in Washington, D.C. As Chuck mentioned, because I insisted on actually doing what I said I would do, that is hold on to my conservative values, I was named by the Columbus Dispatch as one of the top 10 conservatives in the Ohio House. They didn't mean it as a compliment, folks. It wasn't supposed to be a good thing. And in many ways it wasn't a good thing, because those in Columbus, those in the Ohio Republican Party don't necessarily want you to hold on to conservative values. They want you to hold on to the Republican values. And what does that mean? That means you push the button when they tell you. And many in the Republican Party, particularly in the establishment, seem to want someone who is going to do what they're told as a puppet rather than defend the Constitution. But my message to the Republican Party